So my name's Ellie and I'm an illustrator and animator. I might have worked with some of your young carers before, um, but I'm not too sure without seeing them. But I've done some work for Young Carers Academy where I made some films for them to do some activities, and then I came to one of your uh, sessions at Prestatyn, I think, for the
Yes,
you
this is
know
what
that
I
yeah. So we decided to try and do an online animation session this evening. And yeah, so I'm here to talk you through some basics of how to do animation at home. It's really simple, hopefully, um, and you should be able to use things that you already have at home. The only sort of special things that you'll need are if you have a smartphone or a tablet. I know some of you don't, but if you have a friend or that you could team up with who has one that you could use, then that's good. Or an adult that you can borrow one from. But yeah, so a smartphone or a tablet. And then there's a very simple piece of software, sorry, that you need to download, which I'm just going to show you, um, and it's free. I've got the version that you pay for, but that's only about £6. But you can get a free version on the App Store or on Google Play. Am I right to share my screen for a second?
yeah, I've just given you permission.
Um, so so if I share this, so you should be able to see. Can you see that? Okay, it's just like
That's
the
really clear. Yeah.
okay, cool. So that's the one that you want, the blue one. If you want the paid for version, which only has a few different features, it's the purple one, but it doesn't make any difference. You can still do most of the things with the free version that you can. So I'm not going to show any videos now because this is just a short sort of tutorial, but and things. But I'll just talk you through some really, really easy techniques on how to use the software. So I'm going to switch my camera around now which is a bit of a clearer camera, I think. So is that clear?
That's really good. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So I've got a slightly different setup. Because I do quite a lot of animation. I've got this thing called I'm just going to. I've got this thing here which is called a stop stand, and that holds my tablet. But you can make your own one of these just using, well, you can use a cardboard box and balance your phone on the edge of the cardboard box like this. So if you imagine this is a cardboard box, you can put your phone on the edge like that. And that would be, this area here would where you'd be doing your animation. Or you could just use any table or anything that allows you to balance your phone over the edge so that the camera is pointing down. But I've got this like really useful bit of kit which is just like a stand, and I've got my tablets in there. So if I ever do a workshop in real life with you, then I'll be using this because it's really handy. I'm just going to turn my iPad on. This is where it might get a bit tricky for you to see, but what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fiddle with this a little bit just to try and make it a bit easier to see what I'm doing. I'm going to move my tripod down a bit and just tell me if that's
That's
hard.
really good there.
Okay, cool. That's great. Thank you. Okay, cool. So first things first is how to get into the app. So on your smartphone or tablet, the app will come up. You just click on the icon and it will just open like this. And you'll have you'll have this rectangle with with a cross in the middle, and that says new movie. So you just click on movie, and this is your workspace now. This is your timeline. It can show up slightly different on a phone. Let's see if it shows up differently on my phone, because sometimes it does. So sometimes it's no, it's coming up the same there. Yeah, actually it is slightly different. So on my iPad, it immediately goes to a place where you can press the pictures. But this one, for the phone, it won't have that red button. It'll have the camera icon in the top right hand corner. That my screen is mirrored, so it's on the left, but it's top right hand corner. You press on that and then it takes you to the screen where you start taking pictures, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
It should be quite...
And there's the big red button.
Yeah, there's the big red button, exactly. Yeah, that one there doesn't look red on the screen, but it is red.
Yeah.
So it should be quite self-explanatory on when you open the app up. So then so we have this area here, which is your workspace. I've got a little light here just to give myself some extra light, because the light in this room is a bit strange, and it takes a bit of fiddling with to get the right angle. And you might find you have to do the same thing at home. So you want like a nice white sheet of paper as your background, or whatever you want to use, but I'm using white paper. But the first thing you have to do really is to set your frame rate. And if you don't know what frame rate is basically how many pictures you need to take per second of animation. So for every 1 second of animation, you need to take a certain amount of pictures for it to flow and to look good, basically. So at this point, I'd normally ask people how many pictures they think it would take per second of animation. Do you want to guess, Sally? Or
I'm guessing quite a lot, but I don't know what quite a lot is. Maybe 25.
That's a good guess.
Is it?
So 24 frames per second would be like a professional industry. So that would be things like, so if you went to see Toy Story, for example, or like a Pixar film, that would probably be 24 frames a second or higher. So that makes it really smooth and fast. But for us, because we're just doing stop motion animation and sometimes it has a nice effect, we're just doing 12 frames a second, which makes it a bit easier, basically. So you're halving the amount of frames, but it still will look nice. So 12 frames per second is what we want to do. So I'm just going to try and move this, see if you can see. So on your timeline here, on your workspace here, there's like a little wheel symbol. I'm gonna move that. Can you see this little wheel symbol here? Like this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really clear.
Yeah. Okay, so if I press that, it comes up with a dashboard symbol there. It's actually it's in a white square on the screen, so it's not very clear. But there's, if I highlight something else, you'll see. So there's the dashboard where my finger is. So I'll click that, and then along here are all the numbers. So you just scroll that to 12. So that says now movie speed frames per second at 12 frames per second. So I'm just going to click done. And it might be a bit better actually if I unmirror my camera. So if I just change the mirroring. This might be a little bit easier to understand because then some of the words and stuff. Is that still clear?
Yeah.
Cool. So now we have set our frame rate. So now for every 12 pictures I take, that'll be 1 second of animation. So to demonstrate, we're just going to animate some really simple shapes. So I've cut out 12 circles in different sizes, going from large to small, and we're going to animate those, and we're going to make the circle go from big to small, and that's it. and that can be like a test sort of thing. So to do that, I'm just gonna put my first circle on the workspace. So yeah, because the light is really bright, it's shining on the area where I'm working, so you can't really see where I'm working, but you can see okay here, can't you?
Yeah.
What I'm doing.
Yeah, I can see on the tablet.
Okay, that's good. I'm just going to put all these in order. So a good thing to remember when you're doing animation, if you're making separate pieces and you need them to be certain sizes and stuff, it's a good idea to either number them or just keep them in an order that's easy for you to remember. So I've just got that in position. I'm going to take my first picture, which is just by pressing the red button. So that's my first picture. Now, something that's really useful is onion skinning. So onion skinning is basically a function that allows you to see the frame that you just took. So the picture that you just took. So you can then put everything in the right place. So I'm just going to take this away. So there's nothing on the screen now, but then if I move my finger on this little thing here, you can see the last picture that I took. So the shape's not there, it's here, but that's the ghost of the shape. So then I can now place my next circle in exactly the right place, and then I can take my picture. And then I'm going to take them all away and put them in order as I take them away so that I don't get mixed up. Oops. Oh, I did that wrong, didn't I? So I was going. So if you want to do something really simple, like just practice with a circle shape, and you can just start, the best way to start would be to cut out the smallest circle first. It sounds obvious, but the smallest circle first, and use that as a template to cut out the next size up of circle. And then use that one as the template for the next size up of circle, and so on, if that makes sense. I can show you what I mean. Okay, so that's all my circles. So I could get them all and do them again, or I could copy and paste them, which I'll show you how to do in a second, but I'm just going to press play. So hopefully you can see this. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, instead of photographing them all over again, I'll show you how to copy and paste frames. So hopefully this should be quite easy as well. But if I go to the very first frame that I took, if you can scroll along the timeline like that with your finger. Go to the very first picture you took, tap on it, and then just press select. And then if you scroll all the way to the end, and then press the last frame again and press copy. And then tap the last frame, which is empty, and then press paste. And then if you go back to the beginning, oh no, that's wrong. Sorry. But that's a good way to show you what you now need to do is you need to go to the frame that you just pasted and scroll along to the end again. And we're going to click on that frame. And there's an option here to reverse. So we're going to reverse. So, and then go back to the beginning, and then, so you see, so we now have a circle that's getting bigger and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's 12 frames a second and all the circles are kind of sort of nicely, they're not too much bigger and smaller than each other. There's a nice they very gradually get bigger sort of thing. It's nice and smooth. So yeah, and you can do all sorts of things with this. So you can make something change into a different shape. So you could start off with a small circle and then it goes into a big circle. And then the next thing you could do is take a pair of scissors and you could work on this as you go along. So if I go to the last frame and I could just very slightly alter the last circle a little bit. So I'm just changing it a tiny bit so it's not a circle anymore, it's kind of like this flowery shape. I'm going to take it to the last frame. And then change it a bit more. So I can sort of shade a little bit away each time. Keep going. You could make up whatever you wanted. You can change it into a letter or a word or a face, or I'm sort of changing it into I think it's sort of good from a 4-leaf clover. Oh yeah, because it's St. Patrick's Day on Friday, I think.
Yeah, and it's a green piece of paper, so
yeah, exactly. Oh. So the trick is, if you want it to look smooth, it's kind of making very tiny changes each time. So it does take quite a lot of patience, but it's worth it if you want things to look really smooth. And now I'm not going to take any more off it. I'm just going to make it spin round a little bit. So I'm just going to move it a tiny bit every time. So it's quite a nice little thing to do on a rainy day. You can't go anywhere because you can really take your time on it. If you've got quite a lot of time on your hands, but it just takes a little bit of it just takes a bit of patience just to kind of move things at very small, at very tiny bits. And I'll show you why in a minute. Because, so if I just play this now, so that's quite nice and smooth, isn't it?
Really good.
But then if I wanted that to go off or something, and I kind of want it to go to the bottom of the page, you know, if I want it to go off slowly, if I just kind of went like that and then like that, or you know, or even made it jump there, then it's kind of it doesn't really work because it's too fast. So these are little sort of troubleshooty things to watch for. It's just really take the time when you sort of want things to, you know, disappear or you know, you want things to change. Just sort of go quite slowly. And then another thing to watch for is whether you get your hand in the shot. Like sometimes you might want your hands to be in the shot, but say just watch anything you see on the screen is what will show up on the what will show up on the screen. So so if I put my hand here now, that's going to be in the animation, and then in the next one, if I've forgotten that my hand's in the shot, well, we're gonna have fingers in the shot, and it'll be blink as you miss it, but it won't look right. So things to watch for. So yeah, so the main things are sort of taking your time, doing things that are really little, bit by bit, and make sure you don't get your hand in the shot. And another thing that's quite useful to try and remember as well is try not to knock your workstation. So if I was to knock this out of place now, then you'd have to change the whole background setup, because you might kind of, the arrangement will change, what you see will change, if you see what I mean. So it's just like, yeah, little things like that. So just being, yeah, those are the main things. So yeah, so that's kind of the basics, really.
Mm-hmm. It's really nice to watch.
I can send it to you as well. I can export it. Oh, I can show you how to export it as well, if that helps. So you can either share it here. So there's like a little share. So the little square with the arrow pointing upwards. There's that share symbol there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can click on that and say export movie. And then mine just gives me the option to save the video. Yours might give you different options, so just save it. Or you can press the back. There's like a little back arrow there, which takes you back to the home screen. So you can click on there, and then you can do the same thing from here. So you can click and hold your film, and then export movie, and then that's it. So it's really easy. Yeah, it's really simple to do at home. If you're doing it with your cardboard box and your mobile phone, the main thing to think about is getting the light right. So like I said, like I've got this lamp here, and it's got a nice little bendy neck. Mm-hmm. And any kind of light will do. But you've just got to kind of play around with it until you get it in the right place, so it doesn't cast shadows and things. But yeah, that's it, really, I think.
That's great. Thank you.